everybody, so Nintendo of America just tweeted, tune in on March 4th at 6 a.m. PT for an in-depth look at the new Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC fighter, Pyra / Mithra, with director Masahiro Sakurai. He will also reveal the fighter's release date. So our Mr. Sakurai Presents Pyra and Mithra video is next Thursday, March 4th. I'll definitely be live streaming this one, and that's not too long of a wait, so hopefully we can hold out until then. In my last video, I briefly went over a new potential leak that people are calling Concert Leak or Orchestra Leak. It's the only full Fighter Pass leak to have survived Pyra and Mithra being revealed as Challenger Pack 9. I want to go more in depth with it in this video. A few more things have happened or been noticed about this leak, and since it's the strongest potential leak we've had in a while, I felt it deserves to be examined thoroughly. So I'm going to do a deep dive here, really go down the rabbit hole, and look at this one from every possible angle. So be warned, I'm sure some of this will get a little out there with theory crafting and stuff. Now I will say right off the bat, we've been burned by seemingly strong leaks before in the past, stuff like Grinch Leak or Kakomalo, so obviously be skeptical about this leak. But the truth is, they do sometimes happen, so we shouldn't be too biased in either direction, believing every possible leak or dismissing every possible leak. So taking a good look at leaks, but with a healthy dose of skepticism, is the only way we might actually discover a legitimate leak. Also, I will say, at this point, I think there's a natural aversion to having a leak happen. Most people don't really want to know what our final two characters might be. If this is the last pass and there's no third pass, then yeah, if we have a leak for these last two characters, that's it. This might really be the end of the Smash Ultimate roster, and while many people are impatient or just like seeing if we can figure out who we might get, like myself, there's certainly a part of us that wants to be surprised here, and doesn't want a definitive leak to essentially end the fun for Fighters Pass 2 early. We like having that finish line ahead of us and not behind us. As someone who loves to speculate characters, I understand these feelings well. That said, I do think this concert leak has the potential to be real, but I completely understand the heavy criticism and skepticism I'm seeing it get. I'm skeptical here too, and for several reasons, but let's take a look at it and really examine what's going on. I talked about it in my last video, but let me re-explain what the leak actually is. Back on January 8th of this year, when Sephiroth was the most recent fighter, this was posted on 4chan, and it says, Nintendo is currently planning on hosting a live 3-hour-long concert in 2022, where a symphony orchestra will play orchestrated renditions of songs that appear in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This event will be held in Japan after the second Fighters Pass is complete, and they're taking all precautions needed to make this event happen. They'll stream the event live on YouTube for everyone around the globe to see, and eventually Nintendo will distribute a soundtrack disc on the My Nintendo service. Below is a list of songs that Nintendo is considering for the orchestra to play at the event. They then post a long list of songs that will supposedly be at this concert. The songs consist of both Smash songs for each Smash game in the series, and tracks for every fighter on the roster in order. So it begins with Smash 64 music, then each fighter in order from Smash 64, until it gets to Melee, playing Melee music, and continuing on through every fighter from Melee, and continuing to transition between each Smash game in order, and characters from their respective Smash games in order all the way through. So essentially every character on the Smash Ultimate roster has a song specified for them, and this goes in order from our first characters to our newest characters. Looking at the very bottom of the list, the final 3 character-specific songs are Counterattack, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Insanity Beach, which is from Crash Bandicoot, and Proof of a Hero, which is from Monster Hunter. Keep in mind, Sephiroth was the latest fighter revealed at the time this was posted. And not only is Xenoblade music on this list, it's also the next character. So this is also predicting the order correctly, not just that a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 character would happen at all. Specifically, they'd happen right after Sephiroth, and they did. So if this concert leak is correct, the final 2 fighters would appear to be Crash Bandicoot and a Monster Hunter rep. But I'll talk more about these specific characters a bit later. One thing I appreciate about the concert leak is that it has a plausible story attached to it for how this information could get out. The second Fighters Pass has been very well guarded so far. We haven't had many legitimate leaks for it. This makes sense as the team of people involved with the DLC characters is likely smaller as time has gone on. The further we move away from base game and everything involved with that, the less likely information is to get out. However, Concert Leak has a story attached, and a story that makes sense at that. Sakurai wants to do a concert to celebrate Smash Ultimate, a very Sakurai thing to do in my opinion, as he seems particularly proud of the music he's been able to get into this game. Setting up a big event concert takes time, people need to practice, and suddenly a lot more hands are involved with Smash again. Information needs to be passed around to people not directly working on the DLC to get this concert to happen. This idea is similar to box theory, which ended up being true for the base game roster. Box theory involved people making the box for the game, likely having access to the full roster in order to print that onto the box. When people outside of the core staff involved with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate get their hands on information, that's when it's likely to get out. And Concert Leak at least has that concept tied to it. So while simply having a good story doesn't at all prove it's real, it's at least a little more interesting and plausible than a leak with just a list of names or something. Sakurai has done work with orchestras for Smash before, so this isn't entirely unprecedented either. In this interview translated by Source Gaming, when talking about creating the orchestrated music for Melee, Sakurai said, "I think that in regards to the orchestra, there wasn't a single person who didn't have a lot of work. You actually collapsed after the orchestra finished recording? The day after, I was put on an IV at the hospital. I feel like people might make assumptions if I don't clear up what happened, so I'll talk about it. I was visualizing the opening movie in my head and listening to the orchestra perform in the studio. I was checking whether the music and visuals aligned, going, this matches, this is off, this is right, this is wrong, in real time, and I was concentrating very hard. Because the movie would have to be edited according to my notes, I had to make snap judgments every moment about how to make adjustments when the music and visuals didn't line up just right, and it was exhausting. Although I can't deny that I was already overworked and fatigued. If a big orchestrated concert really is happening for Smash Ultimate, please take care of yourself, Sakurai." Now, when looking at any leak that correctly guesses a fighter, a lot of people will point out the infinite monkey theorem when an anonymous post gets something correct for Smash. If you aren't familiar with the infinite monkey theorem, let me explain. The idea is that infinite monkeys typing on infinite typewriters given infinite time will eventually write Shakespeare. Basically, randomness plus infinity equals every possible outcome. The parallel to Smash leaks being a lot of people typing up fake leaks will eventually get the characters correct, even if the leak is fake. However, I want to point out, in this particular case, there's a few things going against the infinite monkey concept. One thing is that this was posted on January 8th, so this isn't infinite time at all. This was a leak that happened between Sephiroth and Pyra and Mithra being revealed, so there was a very short window of time for someone to correctly guess the next fighter. Only so many fake leaks could be typed up in the few months span between the time of Sephiroth and Pyra and Mithra. Also, while this is somewhat my opinion, I haven't seen as many fake leaks being typed up as I used to. Back during base game or even the first Fighters Pass, it seemed fake leaks were rampant. Yet lately, I don't see them as much. There seems to be far less monkeys typing on those typewriters these days. Also, Concert Leak isn't just a list of names. It's actually in order, which is a huge risk for a fake leak. Had they not put the songs in order and we had gotten Crash revealed as Challenger Pack 9 instead of Pyra and Mithra or something, this leak could still seem real with Insanity Beach being on there. But instead, if someone faked this, they took a huge risk in making this list in order, as it would only be potentially real if Xenoblade Chronicles 2 got a character next. Not Crash, not Monster Hunter. Whereas they could have jumbled all the songs up in any order, hedged their bets, and had 3 possible fighters to be next. But they didn't do that. They put it in order, and they got the order right. So if this one was fake, it really only was guessing at a single character being next, a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 character. That's a much stronger prediction than just a jumbled list of names like so many other leaks that end up getting a couple of the names right. Now, that's not to say this concert leak isn't without its flaws. One major problem is that there's no song for Ken. All of the fighters, including Echo Fighters, have an associated song on this list, but Ken is oddly absent. Ironic it's Ken who's the odd man out this time, as Ken has been associated with so many of the leaks and fake leaks we've had for Smash Ultimate. He's been part of the Grinch leak, he's been part of Kakomelo, and there was actually a legitimate leak for Ken back during base game. It's entirely possible the person who wrote this up simply missed Ken's song, and it's like a typo and they just happened to overlook him. Or maybe removing his song was done purposely as a nod to other Smash Ultimate leaks, like the real Ken leak. Maybe they're just trying to say, hey, this one's real, I'm leaving Ken off here, so when you start to see that this one's gaining traction, you'll notice Ken's song is gone, and associate it with the very real Ken leak we got for Smash Ultimate's base game. Of course, since Ken was also part of Cacomelo and the Grinch leak, it's hard to say if removing Ken's song on purpose here for whoever wrote this up is a clever way of letting us know it's real, or a clever way of letting us know it's fake, since we've had both fake and real leaks involving Ken. Though I will say purposely removing Ken's song would only really get noticed when this leak is examined closely. No one was looking at this one until after it was discovered that it correctly predicted Pyra and Mithra. So I'm really not sure how to take Ken's song being missing from the concert leak. There's the potential it's just like a typo, and the person who wrote this up simply overlooked the song when they were transferring over all the information onto like a 4chan post, so I'm going to let this one slide. I don't think it hurts the leak too badly. Let's look at some of the specific songs here, as there's a few things worth noting. The song associated with the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 character is Counterattack, which did play during Pyra and Mithra's reveal trailer, so likely it is coming with them. Though admittedly, if a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 character was happening, this is a very easily guessable song that would be associated with them. Proof of a Hero, the Monster Hunter song, is a little odd, as it's actually already in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so it wouldn't be a song a DLC fighter brings with them. It's a song that's already in from base game. However, the song is a good choice for Monster Hunter, and I don't think the songs chosen for this concert would have to be songs that showed up with the DLC characters, just songs that fit that character and their series well. In fact, it would be stranger to force a DLC song instead of just the song that fits well for a Monster Hunter fighter. Also, the Proof of a Hero song in Smash is specifically titled 4 version. I assume it's from Monster Hunter 4, so another Proof of a Hero song could come with a Monster Hunter DLC character and simply be a different version of that song, and maybe that's the one the orchestra is going to play anyway. Another oddity with the song choices is Roy's song. Over on Twitter, New Super Anime Jones wrote, I noticed the list for Concert Theory lists the songs for Roy's as Attack, which is a song exclusively from Blazing Blade, not Roy's debut game, Binding Blade. Considering there's 2 tracks from Binding Blade in Ultimate, I'm feeling a little sus, not gonna lie. Though the truth is, Roy does appear in Blazing Blade, so it isn't completely off to give him a song from Blazing Blade in my opinion. At Caleb from Earth wrote, I did some math on this leak, and the person who leaked it clearly didn't take their time because they said that it will be about 3 hours long. My estimation for every song on that list led me to believe that there is 5 hours worth of music, definitely not 3. So that's a long runtime with all these tracks. However, 5 hours worth of music, condensed into a 3-hour long concert, does seem possible to me. I assume if this concert really were to happen, the songs wouldn't be played in full. A lot of them repeat quite a bit, and they would likely transition to the next song before actually finishing. I'm picturing an orchestra in front of like a big television screen showing off the characters, either in Smash or from their original games or something, the song's playing for a bit and then moving on to the next fighter. There'd be a lot to cover here, so I wouldn't expect every song to be played in full. I think 3 hours off of 5 hours worth of music is totally possible. Finally, as far as the music itself goes, there is Dragon Quest music here, and Koichi Sugiyama is the composer of these tracks, and is notoriously stingy about what is done with his music. However, the songs are already in Smash Ultimate, and it's getting songs like these alongside all this other music that would make doing a big celebratory concert a real accomplishment. It's not something that's probably going to happen again. I feel if anyone could gather all this music in one place and get the go-ahead to do a big celebratory concert for all this music, it would be Sakurai. Now let's take a look at Crash and Monster Hunter, because even without the leak, I think this is a pretty good guess at the final 2 fighters. They feel among the very likely candidates to end off the second Fighters Pass. Personally, I'd be happy with this lineup as the final 2. There are a lot of characters I'd really like to see in Smash. Lloyd or any Tales of rep, Ryo Hayabusa I've talked about a lot, Arl from Puyo Puyo, and many, many more. But if I'm being objective, if I got to pick the last 2 characters right now, I'd choose Crash Bandicoot and a first-person shooter rep, either Doom Guy or Master Chief. I feel Crash is a missing part of Super Smash Bros., representing the old Nintendo versus Sega versus Sony rivalry of the late 90s. It's that sort of character rivalry that Smash is all about. Getting to finally see Mario fight Sonic, fighting Crash, is a dream that only Smash can make a reality. So this concert leak has Crash on it, so that would be one of my choices right there getting in. My other choice, a first-person shooter character from the FPS genre, is a big genre of gaming I just feel should probably have a character, if we're truly calling this game a celebration of gaming as a whole, as Sakurai has called it. However, I'm aware first-person shooters aren't particularly popular in Japan, and although we don't have a fighter whose series originates as a first-person shooter, we do have characters like Samus who have had games that do technically fall into that genre. So if instead of Crash Bandicoot and a first-person shooter rep, we ended up with Crash Bandicoot and Monster Hunter being a game series that's certainly popular enough to warrant a deserving spot in Smash, with a very interesting moveset potential for a hunter fighter, plus great music and a unique world and some cool stage potential, I have to say I'd be pretty satisfied with the final roster if this ended up being true. So with these proposed final two fighters in mind, let's take a look at what this pass has done so far and see if they fit in with the second Fighters Pass. It seems like a lot of what we've gotten with the second Fighters Pass has been fighters that almost happened for base game, or were potentially planned around then but had to be put on hold. With Min, Sakurai outright stated in an interview he wanted ARMS for base game, but didn't have time to develop a fighter. Steve, we know, took 5 years since negotiations to get into the game, so clearly Steve was something being discussed during base game Smash Ultimate. Final Fantasy VII had very dismal representation in base game, and Sephiroth brought with him more music and spirits for the series. Potentially these things were held off from base game on purpose, and Sephiroth was always a potential way to include them before everything was said and done. And now we just had Pyra and Mithra announced, and in the same article where Sakurai said he wanted ARMS in Smash but didn't have time, he also mentioned Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as another series that he wanted to get in base game Smash Ultimate, but development time didn't allow for it. Also, when we got the Rex Mii costume as a bonus with the first Fighters Pass, Sakurai said he wanted to include him, but simply didn't have time. So the second pass appears to be many loose ends being tied up, and giving us all the things Sakurai and his team just didn't have time for back during base game. Alright, so do Crash Bandicoot and a Monster Hunter rep fit this trend? Let's look at Monster Hunter first. Monster Hunter has content in Smash already. Most notably, Rathalos is an assist trophy and a boss character in base game. Also, as previously mentioned, Monster Hunter has some music tracks in Ultimate. In World of Light, Monster Hunter even has its own area of the game themed after it, Forest Hill, where you fight Rathalos. The stage you fight the Rathalos boss on is modeled after the Ancestral Step from Monster Hunter. So Monster Hunter certainly feels like one of those series that maybe almost got a fighter for base game, like so many of our other Fighter Pass 2 characters did. On the more speculative side of things, we can take a look at what Inrin Khan has said about Monster Hunter. Almost happening for base game. Keep in mind, Inrin Khan proved they knew Min early, so there's certainly some credibility to what they have to say. Inrin said, Byleth has a decent bit of the moveset of a character that didn't make it due to negotiations falling through. When asked more about it, Inrin said, yes, it's not like frame data and animations were used, it was, we had these ideas, maybe we could adapt them. A lot of the DLC characters have reused or unfinished ideas in their movesets. Inrin then followed this up with, without saying in any way that Monster Hunter was the character, the Monster Hunter team has traditionally been very against having Monster Hunter as a character in games, but doesn't mind crossovers with levels and monsters. They were seemingly feeling burned by Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite despite relenting on it. So suggesting without outright saying it, that Monster Hunter was likely the scrapped character that Byleth takes some of their move ideas from. So possibly Byleth's moveset was originally ideas for how to do a Monster Hunter character, but was later given to Byleth. Finally, Inrin said that they do not know if a Monster Hunter character is still happening or not, so clearly Inrin doesn't seem to know everything about Fighter Pass 2. If there really was a scrapped Monster Hunter character whose potential moveset has been given to Byleth instead, of course that could be used as a very strong argument against the concept of us getting a Monster Hunter character and that happening at all as DLC. If this is true, the Smash team's idea for a moveset for a Monster Hunter character has been done. It's been given to Byleth. So what would be the point of having a Monster Hunter fighter get added back in now? If Fighter Pass 2 has a lot of these almost characters, if the Monster Hunter character almost happened, but their moveset is given to a totally different character, what would be the point? Well, maybe the moveset the Smash team came up with was actually part of the reason that the Monster Hunter character got scrapped in the first place. I will say the Monster Hunter team being wary of the hunters representing the series instead of the monsters is a known thing, and I dug up this article talking about it. It's titled, Actually, the Monster Hunter team didn't want the hunter in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It says, considering its popularity, I was surprised Monster Hunter didn't make it into Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in some way. And the response is, certainly they were on the list and we actually made a proposal to the Monster Hunter team and producer. The answer I believe came back was no. You don't just have to have the idea to have the character. You also have to get permission from the producer of that series to include the character and however they are implemented. They thought it wasn't a good fit for the game, and maybe they're right. The Hunter is sort of a malleable personality, rather than a super strong character in Monster Hunter since he's so customizable. So it seems not being able to represent the Hunter properly as a customizable, malleable personality was really the issue. But I'll talk a bit more about that much later. For now, I think we've established that a Monster Hunter character was likely part of the almost fighters that happened for base game, much like many of the Fighter Pass 2 characters we've gotten back have been. So one thing that's gone against the idea of us getting a Capcom rep at all in this second Fighters Pass was that Capcom had a huge leak a few months ago and nothing for Smash Bros. Was in there, leading many, myself included, to be wary of guessing at any Capcom content coming to Smash. It was possible nothing had leaked for Smash, but it was equally possible there simply was nothing to leak for Smash, as no characters or Capcom content was planned for the second pass. However, something recently just happened that suggests some major things from Capcom didn't leak at all. Specifically, Capcom characters showing up for crossovers in other games. Ryu and Chun-Li are the newest characters to show up in Fortnite, and this did not leak as part of the big Capcom leak. So since this is the closest thing that's happened to a Capcom character coming to Smash, Capcom content in a crossover game like Fortnite, I have to say I'm no longer counting out the idea of further Capcom content in Smash. I now believe it is once again very possible and simply didn't leak if it's happening. So the Monster Hunter character being a Capcom character, I don't think that hurts their chances at all now that we've seen Ryu and Chun-Li show up in Fortnite and that didn't leak. Now, one other thing somewhat going against the idea of getting a Monster Hunter character as the last fighter is that right now would have been a very good time to announce them. Monster Hunter Rise comes out in late March, and obviously getting a character in Smash to promote that game would have been really good. However, there's no hard rule about when a fighter needs to happen. Maybe even some Monster Hunter Rise DLC could happen later on this year when the final fighter is being revealed for Smash. Or it might simply not matter at all. After all, series like ARMS and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that just got new characters aren't new games and didn't have anything timely for those characters being announced for Smash to promote sales for their games or something. I'm sure a Monster Hunter rep in Smash at any point would drive up sales for Monster Hunter Rise at a later date. Speaking of Monster Hunter Rise, it's also getting amiibo for the game, and oddly, it does not feature the Hunter as an amiibo. Perhaps a later Smash amiibo for the Hunter could be in the works, and that's the reason they didn't do an amiibo here. Alright, now let's take a look at Crash Bandicoot, and according to this concert leak, he'd be the next fighter, Challenger Pack 10. Most people, including myself, believe the next fighter will be revealed at E3. A character being revealed at E3 also suggests it will be a big, exciting character, probably something purposely saved to get announced for the event. E3 Smash character reveals have historically been some of the most hype reveals, and Crash of course fits that bill. He'd be a big hype character reveal to happen at E3. There's a rumor about this Crash 5-year plan document where supposedly there was a list of things to bring Crash's series back to the public's attention and popular again over 5 years. And one of the things was apparently Crash coming to Super Smash Bros. Now this 5-year plan does seem to have existed, as there's articles written about it. However, the specifics of the content on the plan are not verified and are just rumors. So Crash coming to Smash is just a rumor for now. However, if we accept the validity of a 5-year plan existing, whether or not we know the specific contents of it, we actually know of another character that had negotiations for Smash happen about 5 years ago. Steve from Minecraft. So Crash could be in a similar boat to Steve, having a long planning process before getting into Smash. Crash Bandicoot supposedly had an animated series canceled recently, and apparently part of the reason it was canceled was because Activision is very difficult to work with, which could be part of why negotiations for Crash and Smash may have taken a very long time. It might have been a really long process. As for Activision being difficult to work with, Nintendo seems to have a strong partnership with them lately. Crash has several games on the Switch, including the upcoming Crash 4 coming out in March. And just the other day, Nintendo of America, the Crash Bandicoot Twitter, and the Tony Hawk Pro Skater Twitter all had an interesting exchange of tweets. Tony Hawk wrote, "Just heard hashtag Crash 4 is coming to new platforms and I'm kinda jealous. Hey, at Crash Bandicoot, can you hook at Tony Hawk the game up?" Crash Bandicoot wrote back, "Wow, who dis? Just kidding. Let me see what I can do. At Activision, any help?" And then Nintendo of America wrote, "Come on, Crash, make it happen for at Tony Hawk the game." And lo and behold, the next day after that exchange of tweets, we got Nintendo of America saying, "Get ready to drop in and break skateboarding boundaries when hashtag THPS 1+2 comes to hashtag Nintendo Switch in 2021. Nintendo of America rarely does these weird interactions, so it's notable they had Crash involved when building up hype to announce the Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. Clearly Nintendo and Crash are close. Actually, Crash and Spyro were even featured in Nintendo's Familiar Faces Await on Nintendo Switch video, which had mostly first-party Nintendo stuff, and then Crash and Spyro. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games was on there as well, but it shows that Nintendo sees Crash right up there with their other big gaming characters. Smash, of course, is about bringing all those sorts of characters in one place to battle it out. Nintendo is clearly aware of Crash Bandicoot and his popularity, and how he can stand among these other characters. There's other reasons, of course, to think Crash might be coming to Smash. Activision straight up said there'd be other fun happenings in celebration of the franchise's 25th anniversary this year. Crash being announced for Smash at E3, of course, would be a great fun happening to celebrate that anniversary. And then on the more conspiratorial side of things, there was that image Sakurai tweeted out that lines up with Entropy's clocks in Crash 4. Maybe just a reference or just a coincidence, but it's also possibly a cryptic hint. I won't argue if Sakurai hints or not, as I know that's a very controversial subject, but still the stopwatch image could be something of note for Crash. Alright, so whether or not the concert leak is real or fake, Crash Bandicoot and Monster Hunter seem like pretty strong candidates for possible characters for the final two in this Fighter's Pass. But let's talk a bit more about what we should watch out for regarding this possible leak and these characters, with the Sakurai Presents Pyra and Mithra. The big thing with the Sakurai Presents is that they showcase the Mii costume waves, and Monster Hunter has Mii costumes among the very small list of missing Smash 4 third-party Mii costumes still yet to return for Ultimate. The other missing Smash 4 Mii costume being the Lloyd Mii costume. As much as I'm a big fan of the Tales of series and of Lloyd, getting the Lloyd Mii costume back alongside Pyra and Mithra seems very likely to happen. Lloyd is from an action JRPG series just like Pyra and Mithra. Lloyd uses two swords, which of course fits Pyra and Mithra very well, and Lloyd is the last of the Namco Mii costumes from Smash 4 yet to return, and the Xenoblade series has ties to Namco with the Xeno games in general. Lloyd's Mii seems almost inevitable as these Mii costume waves, specifically when it comes to the Namco Miis, have sort of fit thematically for which characters they've returned alongside with. Heihachi being a fighting game character showing up alongside Min Min, and Gil having a blue sword very similar to the diamond weapons in Minecraft. If somehow Lloyd's costume doesn't return with this next Mii wave, it will be very suspicious. Over on Twitter, at Nazarus07 wrote, Pyra's voice actor was under NDA way back then around the same time Lloyd's voice actor was, and they never confirmed for to this date. If Lloyd's Mii is actually missing in this pack, it's going to be pretty obvious at this point in my opinion. I wouldn't write him off before seeing it happen first. Nazarus is referring to a tweet from Scott Menville back from 2019. Scott Menville is one of Lloyd's voice actors, and they said, I wish I could tell you about this cool voiceover project I've been working on, but they had me sign an NDA. It of course could be anything, but one of the things could be Lloyd coming to Smash. I don't know if it was ever found out what they were talking about, but either way, as much as I want Lloyd as a playable fighter in Smash, I truly believe he will sadly be a Mii costume probably shown off in the next wave. If he somehow manages to escape that fate, then it will be time to get suspicious for a Tales of rep. Now, Monster Hunter is the other missing third-party Smash 4 Mii costume. Actually, it's sort of 2 or 4 missing Mii costumes, mattering how you look at it. So to return them, they'd have to take up a hefty chunk of a Mii costume wave. If we got Lloyd and the Monster Hunter Mii costumes all returning in this next Mii wave, that would be a Mii wave that would mostly be old Smash 4 Miis returning. Seems more likely to me they'd spread them out a bit. And between Lloyd and the Monster Hunter Miis, I think the Lloyd Mii is more likely to return next, rather than the Monster Hunter ones. Of course, it's possible they could return the Monster Hunter Miis with Pyra and Mithra, and we do have Monster Hunter Rise happening in late March, so getting the Miis back now would be timely. And both of the Smash 4 Monster Hunter Miis have swords, which obviously fits thematically with Pyra and Mithra. But for the sake of argument, let's take the concert leak and pretend it's real, and go step by step here, and see if it makes sense. Lloyd seems more likely the Smash 4 missing Mii costume to show up with Pyra and Mithra. Concert leak is saying Crash is next, so I don't think returning the Monster Hunter Miis with Crash makes much sense. Then we get to the final fighter in the pass, and the Monster Hunter Miis still aren't here, so they'd be the final Smash 4 Miis to return. Then it's revealed that not only are the Monster Hunter Mii costumes coming back, but surprise, a Monster Hunter fighter is also becoming a playable character. They slowly drip-fed us the Smash 4 Mii costumes, and as much as I was hopeful Geno would be saved for last and end up as an upgraded playable fighter, it would make sense to do this for Monster Hunter. If they plan on upgrading a Mii costume from Smash 4 into a playable character, or at least giving us a fighter from the same series as a Smash 4 Mii costume, then a fun way to do that is to slowly return all the remaining Smash 4 Mii costumes until only one Mii costume remains, and they reveal it's getting more than just the costumes back, it's actually getting a playable character. Looking at where things are right now, logically, I feel like the Lloyd costume is going to return with Pyra and Mithra, leaving only the Monster Hunter Miis left as the final Mii costumes. And then if this slow Mii costume drip feed was actually building up to anything, Monster Hunter seems to be in position to be the surprise upgraded series, if that's happening at all. So here are some major things we should be on the lookout for to see if Concert Leak might actually be real. And I suspect until one of these things potentially deconfirms Concert Leak, we'll likely have Concert Leak dominating Smash discussion from here on out. The first thing to be on the lookout for is if the Monster Hunter Miis return with Pyra and Mithra, or even whatever character happens after that. The second thing to look out for is if the song Counterattack from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is part of the song list for Pyra and Mithra. It played in their reveal trailer, so it almost certainly is coming with them. The third thing to look out for is if Monster Hunter Rise gets a Spirit event or not. Skipping Spirit events has led to characters in the past, such as Three Houses skipping a Spirit event, which eventually led us to Byleth becoming a playable fighter. Monster Hunter Rise, of course, doesn't have to get a Spirit event, but if it doesn't get one, it'll certainly be somewhat suspicious. The fourth thing to look out for is if Crash Bandicoot ends up showing up at E3 and being our next fighter. And furthermore, if the Monster Hunter Miis don't return alongside with him if he is next. Now, Crash at E3 is possible with or without Concert Leak happening, of course, but I also feel with or without Concert Leak, the final two fighters being Crash and Monster Hunter feels pretty likely. There are plenty of other combinations of final two fighters we could get, but Crash and Monster Hunter certainly feels among the likely realistic endings I could see happening for this pass. Concert Leak, real or fake, it made a pretty good guess at the final three characters. We'll have to wait and see if it's right. Alright, now I feel I should address a few things about Monster Hunter being the final character for Concert Leak. And I have a theory that I think fits well for what we might get if that happens. So get ready for some heavy speculation. In Rincon, implied Byleth's moveset might have originally been a moveset designed for a Monster Hunter character, but given to Byleth. Byleth's moveset originally being for Monster Hunter makes sense to me. I think I even suggested as much, just speculating about how Byleth's moveset could have been used for Monster Hunter instead. Now we have that quote about the Monster Hunter team talking about how the Hunter is a customizable, malleable character, and that being one of the reasons they didn't like the Hunter in Marvel vs. Capcom. They just didn't represent Monster Hunter very well with that Hunter character. Representing characters correctly in Smash Bros. Seems to be a big thing for Sakurai. These days, anyway. So what if they took an early concept for Monster Hunter and gave it to Byleth? That concept being changing weapons with different directional inputs. But then what if they came up with something more fitting for a Monster Hunter character? Here's where things get really speculative. Now, I didn't think it was very likely we'd get any single character in the DLC that actually ended up being multiple characters taking up one spot. Sometimes people would suggest things like a second Pokemon trainer, or a character that's similar like that, a character that's multiple characters that you swap out. But I figured that working on multiple fighters and selling them as a single fighter would simply be too much work. However, with Pyra and Mithra, clearly Sakurai is okay with doing this. We're getting a 2-in-1 character here. Multiple fighters in one spot for DLC can happen. We've now seen that. Now let's take a look at a very old data mine from back when Smash Ultimate first came out. The 16 slots for characters found in the code. This was before Piranha Plant, so Plant takes one of these spots, leaving us with 15. Then the first Fighter's Pass took another 5, leaving us with 10 remaining. Then we assumed that the second Fighter's Pass would leave us with 4 extra spots when the second pass was done. However, with Pyra and Mithra, now we should only have 3 extra spots remaining when the second pass is done. These extra spots were initially part of why we started thinking a 4-character Fighter Pass 3 could be possible. This is sort of where the whole idea of Fighter Pass 3 speculation originated from, really. Anyway, now with Pyra and Mithra, we'll only have 3 spots. But what if Monster Hunter is the final character, and what if they end up using those 3 spots? Monster Hunter is a game that's all about choosing your weapon types. What if the fighter is literally 4 completely different, unique hunters that you choose between by selecting their alt costumes? a male and female version for 4 different weapons and armor types, leaving 8 alt costumes. 4 different weapons of different damage types, like cutting, impact, shot, and piercing. This would represent Monster Hunter very well and maybe get the Monster Hunter team on board with allowing a Hunter character in Smash. Not only that, but it would be a very extensive and time-consuming character to make. Essentially, it's 4 fighters, not just 1. Something like that would be an excellent surprise to end Ultimate off on. We're down to the last fighter, only 1 spot left, and Sakurai gives us 4 new fighters. It would make a lot of sense why this fighter would be saved for last, too. It would take the most time to make them. And having the final character be a 4-in-1 would finish off all those empty spots in the code, end Smash Ultimate on an unexpectedly high note, and represent Monster Hunter in a way that feels fitting for a game about customizability of the player character. And this hypothetical Monster Hunter character's gimmick would be unique, as unlike Pokemon Trainer or now Pyra and Mithra, you'd be locked in with what weapon you choose on the select screen. You wouldn't be able to just swap out during a match. Obviously, completely speculative, but if something like this happened, I'd think a 4-in-1 Monster Hunter character ending the game would be pretty darn cool. So with me speculating about Monster Hunter being the final character here, does this mean I believe Concert Leak? Well, I think it's the strongest leak we've had in a while. I think whether it's real or fake, Crash followed by Monster Hunter actually makes a lot of sense and is a potential final 2 characters we could get. Though just because Concert Leak has a good guess at the final 3 characters doesn't mean I believe it. I think we need to wait things out here, see what happens with Pyra and Mithra, see what happens at E3, before we lock in Concert Leak being real. We've been burned many times before on leaks that seemed real and ended up being fake. So while I think this one is definitely worth taking a look at and will probably be the leak from here on out, I'm not completely convinced just yet. There are plenty of other good characters out there that I could see happening, some of which have a lot of evidence, like say Ryu Hayabusa. But there's also ways to explain away characters that seemed likely but don't end up happening at the end. Only 2 more spots, so obviously some of our likely characters aren't going to end up in the game. For instance, if Concert Leak ends up being real and the last 2 characters are Crash and Monster Hunter, then the Koei Tecmo negotiations that Vergeben heard about might have just been for things like the Age of Calamity Spirit event, or even Byleth, as 3 Houses did involve Koei Tecmo. Maybe that's all that really resulted in. Or Hayabusa could end up being a Mii costume. We had a lot of speculation for Travis Touchdown, and he did make it into Smash, but as a Mii costume. These things do happen. So for now, I'm going to remain skeptical of Concert Leak, but I'm also very interested in it. And if I had to make a guess at the final 2 characters, my guess right now might actually be Crash and Monster Hunter. So we'll just have to wait and see if the Monster Hunter Mii's return, if Monster Hunter Rise gets a Spirit event or not, and what songs show up with Pyra and Mithra. And of course, if Crash is at E3. If all those things start to line up, then I think this will probably be our final big leak from here on out. There's definitely people who just enjoy the speculation ride though, such as myself, and I don't want that to actually be over quite yet, so hopefully there's still ups and downs and unexpected things in Smash speculation before this is all over. In other Smash news, Bravely Default 2 got a Spirit event. I still assume Sephiroth is it for Square characters in the second Fighter's Pass, but cool to see more Square content coming to Smash even just as spirits. This video I'm sure is very long, but I promised to go over some other stuff last time, so let me briefly touch upon a few things. We are likely going to get Pokemon news this week, probably on the 25th or 26th. Kelios and Central Pokemon League seem on board with this, and it seems obvious with Pokemon's 25th anniversary on the 27th that something Pokemon will be happening this week, probably a Pokemon Direct. The big rumor is Diamond and Pearl should be getting remakes this year, which feels likely with or without a leak anyway. The voice actor for Dr. Eggman said some stuff about Eggman's chances for Smash, so if there was like an NDA, I'm not sure if he'd be able to say this. Make up your own mind about how you feel about voice actors talking about their characters in Smash. Either way, Robotnik would be really cool to get in Smash in my opinion. Don't know if it'll happen though. The official Nintendo website seems to have leaked King Babam for Mario Golf. Cool to see that Mario character getting some attention lately. Bringing back these more obscure Mario characters is pretty awesome in my opinion. Hint hint, Geno and Mallow, Nintendo. I guess Toadette might have originally been planned for Mario 3D World on Switch at one point. I don't know much about data mines and codes for games and stuff like that, but that's what I've read. People are saying that there's some code in the game that suggests at one point Toadette might have been in there. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD might be coming to Switch as well. A couple different people suggest that this is happening, so maybe Skyward Sword HD isn't the only older Zelda game that's getting ported over to Switch for the 35th anniversary. Would make sense to have lots of Zelda games this year. Oh, and Peter Griffin might be coming to Fortnite for those interested in Fortnite. Finally, U2's is making some Banjo-Kazooie merch. Always happy to see banjo getting some attention, and the resurgence of merchandise in recent years is really cool in my opinion. I bought the Cable Guys banjo figure, so maybe I'll get these as well. Anyway, if you guys have any thoughts or comments about any of the stuff I talked about in this video, specifically the concert leak, if you think it's real or you think it's fake or you think it's interesting, let me know in the comments below.
Remember to like the video, leave a comment in the section below, and subscribe to PapaGenos!
Twitter, Patreon, Discord.